The transport ship slowly docked at Kepler Station, a massive space station that orbited a distant star. Inside the ship, 3 young humans sat together, looking out the window at their new home for the next year. Jake Morrison pressed his face against the glass, watching strange alien ships move around the station like colorful fish in a giant aquarium. "Look at that one." Lisa Bennett pointed to a ship that looked like a giant purple flower. "I wonder what kind of aliens fly that thing." "Danny." Kim was busy checking his bags for the 3rd time. "I hope we brought enough coffee," he said, patting a large metal container. "Mom packed 12 pounds of beans, but I'm still worried it won't last the whole year." Jake laughed. "Danny, you drink way too much coffee. Maybe this is a good chance to cut back." "Cut back?" Danny's eyes went wide. "Jake, I can't function without coffee. You know that. Remember last semester when the coffee shop on campus closed for a week? I nearly failed my physics test." Lisa nodded. "He's right. I saw him try to put his shoes on the wrong feet that week. It was scary." The 3 humans were part of something amazing. They were the first students from Earth to join the Galactic Educational Consortium. Earth had only been discovered by the galactic community 6 months ago, and already they were building friendships across the stars. The humans were excited, but also nervous. They would be studying alongside aliens from dozens of different worlds. The ship's speaker crackled to life. "Human passengers, please prepare for station entry. Professor Zixthala will meet you at docking. Bay 7. Jake grabbed his backpack and stood up. "Ready to make history, guys?" "Ready as we'll ever be," Lisa replied. Though her hands were shaking a little, they walked through the ship's hallways, following signs written in dozens of different languages. Some of the alien writing looked like musical notes, while others looked like someone had spilled paint on the walls. When they reached the docking bay, the door opened with a soft whoosh. What they saw took their breath away. The station was huge, with ceilings so high they couldn't see the top. Aliens of every shape and size walked, floated, and slithered through the corridors. Some looked like walking trees, others like giant insects, and a few seemed to be made of colored light. "Welcome, human students," a voice said behind them. They turned to see their first alien teacher. Professor Zixthala looked like a living crystal, tall and thin, with light dancing inside her transparent body. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am honored to be your guide during your stay with us." Jake found his voice first. "Thank you, Professor. We're excited to be here. Excellent. Follow me, and I will show you to your living quarters. Tomorrow you will begin classes with students from 47 different world systems." As they walked through the station, aliens stopped to stare at them. Some pointed, others took pictures with devices that looked nothing like Earth cameras. A few aliens even asked for autographs, though they had to explain what autographs were first. "You are quite famous here," Professor Zixthala explained. "Beings from Earth are still very new to us. Many have never seen a human before." Their living quarters were simple but comfortable. Each human had their own room with a bed, desk, and a small kitchen area. The walls could change color and show pictures of any place in the galaxy. Danny immediately made his wall display a coffee plantation from Earth. "Interesting choice of decoration," Professor Zixthala observed, looking at the rows of coffee. "Plants. What are those green organisms?" "Coffee plants," Danny explained. "The beans make the best drink in the universe." "Beans? You consume seeds as nutrition?" "Not exactly," Lisa said. "We grind them up and make a hot drink. It helps us wake up and think better." Professor Zixthala's crystal body flickered with what might have been curiosity. "Fascinating. I look forward to learning more about human dietary requirements. Please rest well tonight. Classes begin early tomorrow." After she left, the 3 humans unpacked their belongings. Jake hung up pictures of his family. Lisa organized her study materials, and Danny set up what looked like a small laboratory. In his kitchen area. "What are you doing?" Jake asked, watching Danny arrange various containers and devices. "Setting up my coffee station," Danny replied seriously. "I brought a grinder, a French press, filters, and a measuring scale. I'm not taking any chances with the quality of my morning coffee." "You're crazy," Lisa laughed. "It's just coffee." "Just coffee?" Danny looked shocked. "Lisa, coffee is life. Coffee is energy. Coffee is the difference between being a smart, productive human and being a zombie who can't remember his own name." Jake shook his head. "I drink coffee too, but you make it sound like medicine." "Maybe it is medicine," Danny said thoughtfully. "Did you know that coffee has over 1,000 different chemical compounds? It's like a complex drug that makes your brain work better." The next morning came quickly. Station time was based on a 26-hour cycle, which confused their Earth-adjusted sleep schedules. Jake woke up feeling groggy and disoriented. Lisa felt even worse, stumbling around her room like she was walking through thick mud. But the worst was Danny. Without his morning coffee, he looked like he was dying. His skin was pale, his eyes were barely open, and he moved like he was underwater. "We need coffee," he mumbled when they met in the hallway. "Need it now." "The dining hall opens in an hour," Jake said, trying to be helpful. "Can't wait an hour," Danny replied, leaning against the wall for support. "Going to die without coffee." Lisa looked almost as bad. "I didn't realize how much I needed it until now." "Is this what withdrawal feels like?" They stumbled toward their first class, Advanced Quantum Mechanics, taught by Professor Blixandra, a floating jellyfish-like being from the gas giant Nimbus. The classroom was filled with alien students who all looked bright and alert. Jake tried to pay attention as Professor Blixandra explained quantum entanglement using floating holographic particles. But without his morning coffee, the words sounded like meaningless noise. His eyelids felt heavy, and his brain felt wrapped in cotton. Lisa was fighting to stay awake. She kept yawning, which confused the alien students around her. One of them, a 6-armed creature covered in purple fur, kept staring at her with all 4 of its eyes. Danny was the worst off. Halfway through the lecture, his head dropped onto his desk, and he started snoring softly. The sound was so strange to the alien students that several of them began recording it. With their devices, Professor Blixandra's tentacles waved in alarm. "Is the human student experiencing medical distress?" she asked in her bubbly voice. The entire class turned to look at Danny, who was now drooling slightly on his desk. Jake nudged him awake, but Danny just mumbled something about coffee beans and went back to sleep. "Should we call the medical center?" asked a student who looked like a walking tree. "The human appears to be malfunctioning." "I'm fine," Danny said suddenly, sitting up straight. But his eyes were still closed, and he was clearly not fine at all. Professor Blixandra floated closer, her transparent body pulsing with concern. "Human students, are you experiencing some form of biological failure? Should I contact the emergency medical team?" Jake raised his hand weakly. "No, Professor, we're not sick. We just need coffee." "Coffee?" Professor Blixandra's voice bubbled with confusion. "What is this coffee?" "It's a drink we make from plant seeds," Lisa explained, struggling to keep her eyes open. "We brought some with us, but we haven't had time to make any yet. You require specific plant matter to function properly?" the professor asked, clearly fascinated by this development. "Yes," Danny said, finally opening his eyes. "Without coffee, humans can't think clearly. We get tired, slow, and stupid." The alien students began whispering among themselves in dozens of different languages. Some took notes, others made recordings, and a few seemed to be having urgent conversations through their communication devices. Professor Blixandra made a decision. "Class is dismissed for today. Human students, Please demonstrate this coffee preparation process in laboratory. 3. I believe this is important information for all of us to understand. As they left the classroom, Jake heard one alien student whisper to another, "The humans require chemical stimulants to achieve normal brain function. How strange. Perhaps this explains why their planet is classified as a death world." Another replied. Jake, Lisa, and Danny had no idea that their simple need for morning coffee was about to become the most studied phenomenon in galactic anthropology. Laboratory 3 was the most advanced chemistry lab on Kepler Station. It had equipment from dozens of worlds, machines that could analyze molecules, and safety systems that could contain the most dangerous experiments in the galaxy. Today, it would witness something the alien students had never seen before. Jake, Lisa, and Danny walked into the lab, followed by Professor Blixandra and nearly 30 alien students. Word had spread quickly through the station about the humans and their strange biological needs. Students from every species wanted to see what this mysterious coffee substance was all about. Danny carried his metal container of coffee beans like it held the most precious treasure in the universe. His hands shook slightly as he set it down on the lab table. Without his morning coffee, he still looked half dead, but determination burned in his tired eyes. "Okay," he said, opening the container. The rich smell of coffee beans filled the air. Several alien students immediately stepped backward, covering their breathing organs with whatever appendages they had. "What is that odor?" gasped Vextara, a 6-armed student from Centauri Prime. Her purple fur was standing on end like she had been shocked. "That's the smell of roasted coffee beans," Lisa explained, though she was swaying on her feet from exhaustion. "We think it smells wonderful." A student who looked like a giant praying mantis clicked his mouthparts together nervously. "It smells like burned organic matter mixed with industrial chemicals." "That's kind of what it is," Jake admitted with a weak smile. Danny pulled out his coffee grinder, a small electric device he had brought from Earth. "First, we need to grind the beans into powder," he explained to his fascinated audience. "The size of the grind is very important. Too big and the water won't extract enough flavor. Too small and it will be bitter." He poured beans into the grinder and pressed the button. The machine made a loud grinding noise that startled several of the alien students. Gurgle, a gelatinous blob-like being, actually jumped so high he hit the ceiling and stuck there for a moment before dropping back down. "Sorry," Danny said. "I should have warned you about the noise." Professor Blixandra floated closer, her jellyfish body pulsing with scientific curiosity. "You are mechanically destroying the cellular structure of these seeds." "Exactly," Danny nodded. "We need to break them down so water can extract the chemicals inside." "Chemicals?" A student from the ice world, Glacius, looked alarmed. Her white, crystalline body began flashing warning colors. "You consume chemicals?" "Everything is chemicals," Lisa said, trying to stay focused despite her fatigue. "Water is a chemical. The air we breathe has chemicals. Our bodies are made of chemicals. But these are plant defense chemicals," observed KL Asinari Prime, 1 of the insect-like twins from Hive World 7. "Plants produce bitter compounds to prevent other organisms from eating them." "Yeah, that's probably true," Jake agreed. "But humans learn to like those bitter compounds. We actually seek them out." Danny finished grinding the coffee and held up the container of dark powder. "See? Now it's ready for brewing." The alien students leaned forward to look, though many kept their distance. The ground coffee looked like fine dirt or ash to them. "Now we need hot water," Danny continued, moving to the lab's water heating system. "The temperature has to be just right. Too hot and we extract too many bitter compounds. Too cool and we don't get enough extraction." He filled a beaker with water and placed it on the heating element. "We want it between 195 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit." "That's nearly boiling," whispered Zephyr, an amphibious student from the Waterworld Aquaria. That temperature would cook our cellular structure. We don't drink it that hot, Lisa explained. We let it cool down a little first. As the water heated, Danny set up his French press, a simple glass container with a metal filter. This is one of the easiest ways to make coffee, he told his audience. There are dozens of different methods. Some humans are very serious about. Which method makes the best coffee? How serious? Asked Bleep Bloop, a robotic consciousness from the Silicon Collective. Serious enough to spend thousands of dollars on equipment, Jake replied. Some people have machines that cost more than a car. What's a car? Several students asked at once. Never mind, Jake said quickly. The point is, humans care a lot about coffee quality. The water began to bubble, and Danny watched the temperature display carefully. When it reached exactly 200 degrees, he removed it from the heat. Now comes the most important part, he said solemnly. The ratio of coffee to water determines the strength of the final product. He measured out coffee grounds with scientific precision, using a small scale to weigh exactly 30 grams of ground coffee. Then he measured 500 milliliters of hot water. This gives us a ratio of 1 to 16.7, he explained. Some people prefer stronger coffee, some prefer weaker. This is what I call medium strength. The alien students were taking detailed notes. Several were recording everything with their devices. Professor Blixandra was practically vibrating with excitement. Danny poured the hot water over the coffee grounds in the French press. Immediately, the mixture began to bubble and foam as gases escaped from the coffee. Fascinating, breathed Dr. Healing Song, a plant-like being whose leaves rustled with interest. The organic compounds are reacting with the heated solvent. We call this blooming, Danny said. The coffee releases carbon dioxide gas when it contacts hot water. It means the coffee is fresh. He stirred the mixture gently with a spoon, then placed the metal filter on top. Now we wait 4 minutes for extraction. The 4 minutes felt like 4 hours to the caffeine-deprived humans. Jake was leaning against the lab table for support. Lisa had her head in her hands, trying to fight off a headache. Danny watched the timer on his phone like his life depended on it. Why exactly do you need this substance? Asked Vextara, genuinely curious. What happens if you don't consume it? We get tired, Jake explained weakly. Our brains don't work as well. We can't concentrate or think clearly. Some humans get headaches, Lisa added, rubbing her temples. And we become irritable and grumpy. It sounds like you're describing withdrawal symptoms, observed Bleep Bloop. Our medical databases indicate that withdrawal occurs when an organism becomes dependent on a chemical substance. Dependent? Professor Blixandra's tentacles waved with concern. Are you saying humans require this coffee substance to function? Normally? Pretty much, Danny admitted, not taking his eyes off the timer. Most adult humans drink coffee every day. Some drink it multiple times per day. Multiple times? The ice student from Glacius looked horrified. How much of this chemical do you consume? I usually drink about 6 cups a day, Danny said casually. That's about 600 milligrams of caffeine. Several alien students gasped. Others began calculating frantically on their devices. 600 milligrams? Kluxneri Secondary chittered nervously. That quantity of stimulant would kill most species we know. Really? Lisa looked up with interest. It just makes us feel normal. The timer finally beeped. Danny immediately pressed down on the French press filter, separating the liquid coffee from the grounds. The dark, aromatic liquid looked almost black in the glass container. And now, Danny said with reverence, we drink. He poured the coffee into 3 lab beakers. Since they didn't have proper cups, the rich, dark liquid steamed invitingly. To the humans, it smelled like heaven. To the aliens, it smelled like concentrated poison. Jake lifted his beaker first. Cheers, he said, and took a long sip. The effect was almost immediate. Color returned to his face, his eyes became brighter, and he stood up straighter. "Oh, that's so much better," he sighed with relief. Lisa and Danny drank their coffee with similar results. Within minutes, all three humans looked completely different. They were alert, energetic, and ready to face the day. The alien students watched this transformation with a mixture of fascination and horror. They had just witnessed three barely functional beings consume what appeared to be industrial-strength chemicals and become fully operational. "Remarkable," whispered Professor Blixandra. "The substance appears to have completely restored their cognitive and physical capabilities. It's like watching someone recharge a battery," Bleep Bloop observed. "But with organic chemistry instead of electricity." Danny finished his coffee and smiled at his alien classmates. "Thanks for watching our morning ritual. Now we're ready to learn some quantum mechanics." As the humans walked back toward their classroom, chattering excitedly about their lessons, the alien students remained in the laboratory, staring at the empty coffee containers. "Did we just watch three beings consume what amounts to liquid stimulants?" Vextara asked quietly. "I believe we did," Professor Blixandra replied, her voice filled with scientific wonder. "And not only did they survive it, they appeared to require it for normal function. Their entire species does this every day?" Gurgle's gelatinous form rippled with disbelief. "According to their cultural database, yes," Kluxnary Prime confirmed. "Coffee consumption is a daily ritual for most adult humans." The aliens looked at each other with new understanding. These weren't just students from another world. These were beings who had evolved to regularly consume substances that would be considered dangerous to most galactic species, and they did it every morning before breakfast, like it was the most normal thing in the universe. The alien students could not stop thinking about what they had seen in the laboratory. After watching the humans drink their coffee and transform from barely alive to fully functional, they knew they had witnessed something important. Something that changed everything they thought they knew about the species from Earth. During lunch break, while Jake, Lisa, and Danny ate their meals and drank more coffee, the alien students gathered in secret at the far end of the dining hall. They huddled around a large table, whispering in dozens of different languages. "We need to document everything," Vextara said urgently, her 6 arms waving as she spoke. "This could be the most important biological discovery in galactic history." Kluxnary Prime nodded, his insect-like head bobbing up and down. "The humans consume what appears to be a powerful stimulant drug every single day, multiple times per day. And they act like it's normal. It's not just that they can survive it," added Kluxnary Secondary. "They actually need it to function. Without it, they become slow and weak." Gurgle's gelatinous body rippled with excitement. "I've been analyzing the chemical residue from their coffee preparation. The molecular structure is fascinating and terrifying." "What did you find?" asked Zephyr, leaning forward with interest. "The primary active compound is called caffeine," Gurgle explained, displaying a holographic molecular model above the table. "It's an alkaloid that acts as a central nervous system stimulant. For most species, even small amounts would cause dangerous increases in heart rate, blood pressure, and neural activity." Bleep Bloop's mechanical voice crackled with data. "I've been running continuous scans on the humans during their classes today. Their biological readings are remarkable." The robot projected a series of charts and graphs into the air. After consuming coffee, their heart rates increased by an average of 18%. Their neural activity showed enhanced patterns in areas associated with alertness, focus, and memory processing. Their metabolic rate increased by 12%. Those readings would indicate a medical emergency for most species, Dr. Healing Song observed, her leaf-like appendages rustling with concern. "Yet the humans appear to be functioning at optimal levels." "Better than optimal," corrected a student from the gas giant Nimbus, whose cloud-like form shimmered with worry. They're performing better in classes now than they did yesterday. It was true. During their afternoon physics class, the humans had been sharp and focused. Jake solved complex equations faster than some of the naturally gifted mathematical species. Lisa asked insightful questions that impressed even the professor. Danny stayed awake and engaged throughout the entire lecture. I've been observing their physical performance as well, said Freeze Solid, the crystalline student from Glacius. During physical education period, their reaction times improved significantly. Their endurance increased. Their coordination was enhanced. Enhanced? By how much? Vextara asked. Approximately 23% improvement across all measured categories. Freeze Solid replied, her crystal body flashing with the colors of her data displays. The alien students fell silent, trying to process this information. They were describing abilities that sounded like artificial enhancement or genetic modification. There's something else, Gurgle said quietly. I accessed the human database during our free period. What I found is disturbing. What kind of disturbing? Several students asked at once. Gurgle's form darkened to a deep blue color, which indicated serious concern among his species. According to their own records, approximately 64% of adult humans consume coffee daily. But that's not the worst part. He paused dramatically, his gelatinous body trembling. Some humans consume up to 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. Some consume even more. And they do this for decades without apparent harm. 400 milligrams? Kluxnari Prime's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. That dosage would kill most of us instantly. It gets worse, Gurgle continued. They have entire industries built around coffee production and consumption. Millions of humans work in jobs related to growing, processing, and serving coffee. They have thousands of different varieties and preparation methods. Bleep Bloop processed this information and spoke in a tone that sounded almost frightened. They've built a significant portion of their civilization around the regular consumption of what most species would consider a dangerous drug. Not just dangerous, Dr. Healing Song corrected. According to my botanical analysis, caffeine is a natural pesticide. Plants produce it to kill insects and other organisms that try to eat them. So the humans are regularly consuming natural pesticide. Zephyr's amphibious skin turned pale green with shock. Multiple times per day, Gurgle confirmed. And not only do they survive it, they appear to have developed a biological dependency on it. The students looked across the dining hall at the three humans who were laughing and chatting as they shared their lunch. Jake was drinking from a large mug filled with more coffee. Lisa had a smaller cup that she sipped between bites of food. Danny had what appeared to be his third cup of the day. Look at them, whispered Vextara. They're consuming more of the substance right now, and they seem completely unaware that they're doing anything unusual. Because to them, it isn't unusual, Bleep Bloop observed. This is normal behavior for their species. Which means, Kluxnari Secondary said slowly, their entire species has evolved to regularly consume what we would consider poison. The implications of this statement hit the group like a shock wave. They weren't just studying exchange students from another world. They were studying representatives of a species that had somehow adapted to survive and thrive on substances that would kill most other known life forms. We need more data, Vextara declared. I propose we conduct a detailed study of human coffee consumption patterns and biological responses. Agreed, said Freeze Solid, but we must be careful. If they realize we're studying them, they might change their behavior. They already know we're curious, Dr. Healing Song pointed out. They saw us watching them prepare their coffee this morning. True, but they don't know how significant this discovery is, Gurgle replied. They think we're just interested in their cultural practices. They don't realize we're documenting evidence that their species has evolved to consume chemical compounds that are toxic to most galactic life. Over the next few days, the alien students became amateur anthropologists. They secretly recorded everything the humans did related to coffee consumption. They documented timing, quantities, preparation methods, and biological responses. What they discovered amazed and terrified them. Jake typically consumed 4 cups of coffee throughout the day. The first cup was always the largest and strongest, consumed immediately upon waking. The second came with breakfast. The third was consumed during afternoon classes. The fourth was a smaller cup consumed during evening study time. Lisa followed a similar pattern but preferred slightly weaker coffee and consumed it at different times. She often drank coffee while studying, claiming it helped her concentrate better. Danny was the most extreme case. He consumed coffee almost constantly throughout the day, carrying a large insulated container that he refilled multiple times. His total daily caffeine intake was estimated at nearly 500 milligrams. That's equivalent to the amount of stimulant we would use to power emergency medical equipment, Bleep Bloop calculated, and he drinks it like water. The alien students also discovered that coffee consumption affected different aspects of human performance in different ways. Mathematical tasks showed the greatest improvement, followed by memory retention and physical coordination. Creative tasks showed moderate improvement, while emotional regulation remained largely unchanged. It's like they've learned to chemically optimize their brain function, observed Dr. Healing Song. They use this caffeine compound to enhance specific cognitive abilities on demand. More than that, Vextara added excitedly. They've developed tolerance levels that allow them to consume these quantities without the negative side effects that would affect other species. Their liver enzymes must be specifically adapted to process caffeine efficiently, Gurgle concluded. This suggests evolutionary adaptation over many generations. Evolution? Klesnari Prime's compound eyes widened. You're saying humans evolved to drink coffee? Not exactly, Dr. Healing Song explained. But they clearly evolved in an environment. We're consuming bitter, potentially toxic plant compounds, provided survival advantages. Coffee just happens to be one of many such compounds they can safely consume. The alien students stared at each other as this realization sank in. The humans weren't just tough because they came from a difficult planet. They were tough because they had evolved to turn environmental toxins into daily nutrition. No wonder. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, whispered Freeze Solid. The humans have adapted to survive in an environment so hostile that even the plants are trying to poison them. And not only do they survive, Bleep Bloop added, they figured out how to use the poison to make themselves stronger. Across the dining hall, Danny raised his coffee cup in a casual salute to his alien classmates before taking another long sip. He had no idea that this simple gesture had just been recorded as evidence of humanity's most remarkable evolutionary adaptation. Aliens had thought they were studying The alien students had been secretly studying the humans for a week when they decided to conduct their most dangerous experiment yet. They needed to understand exactly how toxic coffee really was to other species. The only way to find out was to test it themselves. Late at night, when the humans were asleep, 6 volunteer students snuck into Laboratory 3. Vextara had stolen a small sample of ground coffee from the humans' preparation area. Gurgle had volunteered to be the test subject because his gelatinous body could analyze and neutralize toxins better than most species. Are you sure about this? Whispered Klesnari Prime, his insect wings buzzing nervously. If this substance is as dangerous as we think, you could be seriously hurt. Gurgle's translucent form pulsed with determination. Science requires sacrifice. Besides, my species can survive chemical exposures that would kill others. If anyone can safely test human coffee, it's me. Bleep Bloop had calculated the safest possible dose. I recommend starting with 1/10 of what a human typically consumes. That's approximately 3 milligrams of caffeine, dissolved in 50 milliliters of water. That should be safe, agreed Dr. Healing Song, though her leaves were rustling with worry. My medical scanners are ready to monitor your vital signs. Freeze Solid had prepared the coffee using the exact method they had observed the humans use, but with much weaker concentrations. The liquid looked pale brown instead of the dark black that humans preferred. Ready? Asked Vextara, holding the small beaker of diluted coffee. Gurgle extended a small pseudopod toward the beaker. For science, he declared bravely. He absorbed the liquid into his body through his semi-permeable membrane. For a moment, nothing happened. The other students leaned forward, watching carefully. Then Gurgle began to change. First, his normally calm, translucent blue color shifted to bright yellow. Then streaks of red began racing through his gelatinous body like lightning. His form started bubbling violently, expanding and contracting in rapid pulses. Gurgle, Vextara shouted. What's happening? Burning, Gurgle managed to gasp, his voice distorted and strange, everything burning inside. Can't control, too much energy. His body began flashing between different colors so quickly, it hurt to look at him. Purple, orange, green, silver. The colors swirled and mixed like a chemical storm. Dr. Healing Song's medical scanner started beeping frantically. His cellular activity has increased by 400%. His nervous system is overloading. His metabolic rate is off the charts. Emergency protocols, Bleep Bloop announced, activating the laboratory's safety systems. Initiating medical containment procedures. Kluxnary Secondary hit the emergency alarm button. Within seconds, the lab was filled with medical personnel. From a dozen different species, Dr. Singing Waters, the station's head medical officer, arrived first. She was a graceful being who looked like a walking tree with silver bark and leaves that chimed like bells when she moved. What happened here? She demanded, rushing toward Gurgle, who was now vibrating so rapidly he looked like he might explode. He consumed a diluted sample of human coffee, Vextara explained quickly. Just a tiny amount, much less than humans drink. Dr. Singing Waters' leaves rustled in alarm. Coffee? The human stimulant compound? Why would you do such a dangerous thing? We needed to understand how toxic it really is, Bleep Bloop replied. Our calculations suggested a small dose would be safe. Safe? Dr. Singing Waters began connecting various medical devices to Gurgle's writhing form. Coffee contains concentrated alkaloids that are poisonous to most galactic species. Even trace amounts can cause severe reactions. She worked quickly, injecting Gurgle with neutralizing agents and stabilizing compounds. Slowly, his violent color changes began to calm down. The frantic bubbling reduced to gentle ripples. His form stopped expanding and contracting. Status report, she called to her medical team. Patient's cellular activity is decreasing, reported a spider-like nurse. Metabolic rate returning to normal ranges, nervous system overload subsiding. After 20 minutes of intense medical care, Gurgle finally returned to his normal translucent blue color. He lay still on the medical table, exhausted but alive. How do you feel? Dr. Healing Song asked gently. Like I was struck by lightning, Gurgle whispered weakly, but also like I could think faster than ever before. It was terrifying and amazing. At the same time, Dr. Singing Waters turned to face the group of student researchers. You're lucky he survived. Coffee alkaloids are classified as Class 7 hazardous substances for most species. What you just did was equivalent to injecting him with industrial chemicals. But humans drink this every day, Kluxnary Prime protested. Multiple times per day. In concentrations much stronger than what we gave Gurgle. Dr. Singing Waters' leaves stopped chiming. She stared at the students in silence for a long moment. Repeat that, she said slowly. Humans consume coffee daily, Vextara explained. We've been observing them for a week. They drink it every morning, often multiple times throughout the day, and they use concentrations at least 10 times stronger than what nearly killed Gurgle. Impossible, Dr. Singing Waters breathed. No known species can safely consume Class 7 alkaloids in regular doses. We have recorded evidence, bleep bloop. Offered, projecting holographic data into the air. Biological scans, consumption patterns, chemical analysis of their coffee preparations. Dr. Singing Waters studied the data with growing amazement. These readings show humans consuming 200 to 500 milligrams of caffeine daily. That should be lethal, not just surviving it, added Dr. Healing Song. Thriving on it. Their cognitive and physical performance actually improves after consumption. This is unprecedented, Dr. Singing Waters whispered. I need to report this to the Galactic Medical Council immediately. Word of the incident spread quickly through Kepler Station. By the next morning, every alien on the station knew that the human students were regularly consuming substances that had nearly killed a student who tried to test them. The humans, meanwhile, were completely unaware of the drama they had caused. Jake, Lisa, and Danny went about their normal routine, drinking their morning coffee and attending classes like nothing had happened. During breakfast, Jake noticed that the alien students were staring at them more intensely than usual. Is it just me, or are our classmates acting weird today? He asked Lisa. I noticed it too, she replied, taking a sip of her coffee. They keep pointing at our cups and whispering. Danny looked up from his extra-large coffee mug. Maybe they're curious about coffee. We should offer to make some for them. That's a great idea, Jake agreed. We could have a cultural exchange coffee tasting. They had no idea that their innocent suggestion would cause panic among the alien students. When Jake approached Vextara's table and offered to prepare coffee for everyone to try, the six-armed alien nearly fell off her chair. No, she shouted, loud enough that the entire dining hall turned to look. I mean, no thank you. That's very kind, but we couldn't possibly. Why not? Danny asked, genuinely confused. Coffee is great. You might really like it. We appreciate the offer, Closnary. Prime said carefully, but our species have different dietary requirements than humans. Different dietary requirements? Lisa raised an eyebrow. It's just coffee. What's the worst that could happen? The alien students exchanged meaningful looks. They all knew exactly what the worst that could happen was, because they had seen. It happened to Gurgle just 12 hours earlier. Perhaps we should learn more about coffee before trying it ourselves, Dr. Healing Song suggested diplomatically. Could you tell us more about how your species discovered this beverage? Sure, Jake said, sitting down at their table. Coffee has been popular on Earth for hundreds of years. Legend says a goat herder in ancient times noticed that his goats became more energetic after eating certain berries. Energetic goats? Gurgle's voice was still weak, but he was back in classes with medical monitors attached to his body. Yeah, the goats would eat coffee berries and then run around like crazy. Danny explained. So humans tried eating the berries too, and eventually figured out how to roast and brew them. Your ancestors experimented with substances that made animals act strangely? Freeze Solid's crystalline body flashed warning colors. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds kind of dangerous, Lisa admitted. But it worked out fine. Now billions of humans drink coffee every day. Billions? Several alien students gasped at once. Oh yeah, Jake nodded casually. Coffee is the second most traded commodity on Earth, after oil. Whole countries depend on coffee production for their economy. The alien students stared at him in stunned silence. They were learning that humans hadn't just evolved to consume dangerous chemicals. They had built their entire civilization around the mass production and consumption of substances that were toxic to most other life forms. Your species industrialized the production of Class 7 alkaloids? Dr. Singing Waters had arrived for breakfast and overheard the conversation. "Class 7, what now?" Danny asked, looking confused. "Alkaloids," the medical officer repeated. "Toxic compounds produced by plants as natural pesticides." "Oh, you mean caffeine," Jake said with a shrug. "Yeah, we figured out how to extract and concentrate it. Some humans take pure caffeine pills instead of drinking coffee." Dr. Singing Waters' leaves began chiming rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. "You!" The day of the Great Revelation started like any other day on Kepler Station. Jake, Lisa, and Danny woke up, made their morning coffee, and headed to their xenobiology class. They had no idea that today would be the day their alien classmates finally revealed what they had discovered. Professor Zixthala had called a special assembly. Students from every species on the station crowded into the main lecture hall. The humans sat in their usual seats, sipping coffee from their travel mugs, and wondering why everyone seemed so excited. "Today," Professor Zixthala announced her crystal body chiming with authority, "we will hear a special presentation from our student research team. They have made a discovery about human biology that has significant implications for our understanding of Deathworld species." Jake leaned over to Lisa. "Deathworld species? Are they talking about us?" "I think so," Lisa whispered back. "Earth is classified as a Deathworld because of how dangerous it is." Danny was only half listening. He was more focused on his coffee, which was particularly good this morning. He had tried a new brewing method that extracted more flavor from the beans. Vextora stepped forward to begin the presentation. Her 6 arms moved gracefully as she activated the holographic display system. "Fellow students and faculty, over the past 2 weeks we have conducted an extensive study of human biochemical processes. What we have discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about biological limitations." The first hologram showed a detailed molecular structure. "This is caffeine, the primary active compound in a substance humans call coffee. As you can see, it is a complex alkaloid with stimulant properties." Jake perked up with interest. "Hey, they're talking about coffee. Cool." "According to our medical databases," Vextara continued, "caffeine is classified as a Class 7 hazardous substance. Exposure to even small amounts can cause severe physiological distress in most galactic species." She clicked to the next display, which showed Gurgle's near-fatal reaction to diluted coffee. Several students in the audience gasped as they watched the recording of his violent color changes and cellular overload. This was the result when one of our volunteers consumed approximately 3 milligrams of caffeine in diluted form. As you can see, the reaction was immediate and life-threatening. Danny nearly choked on his coffee. "Wait, what?" Gurgle tried to drink coffee. "Is he okay?" "He's fine now," Gurgle called out from the audience, though he was still wearing medical monitoring devices. "But I do not recommend the experience." "Now," Vextara said dramatically, "let me show you the daily consumption patterns of our human students." The next hologram displayed charts and graphs showing Jake, Lisa, and Danny's coffee consumption over the past 2 weeks. The numbers were staggering when put into perspective. Jake Morrison consumes an average of 320 milligrams of caffeine daily. Lisa Bennett consumes 280 milligrams. Danny Kim consumes a remarkable 520 milligrams per day. The alien students murmured in amazement. These numbers represented concentrations that would kill most of them instantly. "Furthermore," Vextara continued, "they do not simply survive these doses, they require them for optimal function. Without caffeine, humans experience cognitive impairment, physical fatigue, and emotional distress." Jake, Lisa, and Danny were staring at the presentation with growing amazement. They had never thought of their coffee habit as anything unusual. To put this in perspective, Clixnary Prime added, stepping forward, "The amount of caffeine in a Single human coffee cup could be used to power our emergency medical equipment. What humans consume for breakfast could fuel a small spacecraft. You're kidding, Lisa said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Coffee could really power a spacecraft? Theoretically, yes, Bleep Bloop confirmed. The energy released from caffeine. Combustion is significant. Your species has essentially learned to use rocket fuel as a daily beverage. The human students looked at each other and started laughing. They couldn't help it. The idea that their morning coffee was equivalent to rocket fuel was hilarious to them. "This is just the beginning," Dr. Healing Song announced, taking her place. At the front of the room, our analysis of human dietary habits reveals a pattern of consuming substances that would be toxic to most galactic life. She activated another display showing a list of common human foods and drinks. Chocolate contains theobromine, another alkaloid stimulant. Alcohol is a cellular poison that humans consume recreationally. Spicy foods contain capsaicin, a compound designed to cause pain and deterrent eating. Don't forget onions and garlic, added Freeze Solid. Both contain sulfur compounds that are antimicrobial agents. "Wait," Danny said, raising his hand. "Are you saying that everything we eat is basically poison?" "Not poison exactly," Dr. Singing Waters explained gently. "But many substances that humans consume regularly would be harmful or fatal to other species. Your digestive systems and metabolic processes have evolved to handle toxins that most of us cannot." Professor Zixthala's crystal form began glowing brighter as she prepared to deliver the most important part of the presentation. "Students," she announced, "what we have discovered is that humans represent the first known example of a species that has evolved to turn environmental toxins into nutritional advantages. You have not simply adapted to survive on a death world. You have learned to thrive by consuming the very substances that make your world dangerous." The lecture hall fell completely silent. Even the humans stopped laughing as the full meaning of this statement sank in. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world," Professor Zixthala continued, "not just because of its extreme weather, geological activity, and dangerous fauna. It is a death world because even the plants are trying to kill you. And instead of avoiding these toxic plants, your species learned to cultivate them, process them, and consume them daily." Jake looked down at his coffee mug with new appreciation. "So coffee isn't just a drink. It's proof that humans are tougher than we thought." "Much tougher," agreed Gurgle, his voice still weak but full of admiration. "I nearly died from a dose that you would consider laughably small." "This explains so much about your species," Vextara said excitedly. "Your rapid technological advancement, your exploration of dangerous environments, your willingness to take risks that other species would never consider. You've been training on environmental toxins your entire evolutionary history." "Training?" Lisa asked. "Think about it," Kluxnari Secondary explained. "Every day, from childhood, humans consume substances that challenge their biological systems. Your bodies are constantly adapting, strengthening, becoming more resilient. It's like a daily workout for your cellular defenses." Danny raised his hand again. "So what you're saying is that coffee makes us stronger?" "Coffee is just one example," Dr. Healing Song replied. "Your entire diet is a collection of what other species would consider chemical warfare agents. You eat bitter compounds, burning compounds, fermented compounds, acidic compounds. You've turned biological deterrents into delicious meals." The alien students began applauding, a sound that involved chirping, clicking, buzzing, chiming, and various other noises depending on the species. The humans found themselves being celebrated for something they had never even thought about. "There's one more thing," Professor Zixthala announced. "Our research has been forwarded to the Galactic Council. Earth's classification is being reviewed." "Reviewed? How?" Jake asked. "Earth may be upgraded from a Class 12 death world to a Class 15 extreme death world," she explained. and humans may be reclassified as an apex survival species. Is that good or bad? Danny wondered. Good for you, Vuxtara laughed. It means the galaxy officially recognizes that humans are incredibly tough. Bad for anyone who might want to invade Earth. Why? Lisa asked. Because, Gurgle explained, any species that has evolved to drink rocket fuel for breakfast probably has other surprises waiting for unwelcome visitors. The humans looked at each other and grinned. Jake raised his coffee mug high in the air. To coffee, he declared. The fuel of human civilization. To coffee, Lisa and Danny echoed, raising their own mugs. The alien students watched with fascination and respect as the three humans clicked their containers together and consumed more of their daily dose of what the galaxy now recognized as liquid courage. Word of the coffee discovery spread quickly throughout the galactic community. Within weeks, human coffee consumption became the subject of scientific papers, doctoral dissertations, and military strategy discussions. Coffee shops on Earth received orders from alien anthropologists who wanted to study the beverage that had revealed the true nature of human resilience. Meanwhile, Jake, Lisa, and Danny continued their studies on Kepler Station, blissfully unaware that they had become celebrities throughout the galaxy. They just kept drinking their coffee every morning, attending classes, and occasionally wondering why their alien classmates looked at them with such a mixture of admiration and terror. They never did find out what happened when the aliens learned about energy drinks. That's a story for another day, but every morning, as students from dozens of worlds watched the humans prepare and consume their rocket fuel breakfast, they were reminded of an important truth. Never underestimate a species that starts each day by drinking poison and calling it delicious. The humans had taught the galaxy that survival isn't just about avoiding